So one of the things I've been working on with my workflow is data management. And data management is super important because obviously if you've taken photos for somebody and you're holding on to them, you want to hold on to them because A, it's part of your portfolio. It's part of the work that you have actually created. And let's face it, one day, someday, down the road, your client is going to say, you know what, my computer crashed, I lost everything, but I need those photos from this thing that you did for me however many years ago. And you better have them. Let's talk about how we're going to do that. All right, to start, I'm going to say that I keep all of my raw files and all of my finished files as well. And you can quite imagine doing real estate photography, that becomes a lot of files to keep. And you can't keep it all on one laptop because you'll run out of space within a month. So, month, week, maybe even sooner. So, here is what we do. I've got myself my MacBook Pro, MBP. And on my MacBook Pro, I have 4 terabytes. So I'm just going to write here 4T. Right? Now, 4 terabytes is huge to have on a laptop, but you know what? With the volume that I do, I wanted to have 4 terabytes. So that's what I got. Now, with my 4 terabytes of space, I put everything on there, my raw files, my finished files, and then I save them. I back them up to the cloud. And when I back them up to the cloud, it goes to Dropbox. And we have an unlimited Dropbox account. And just to give you an idea here, let me show you. I'm going to go up to my Dropbox app here and look at my preferences, my account. We are currently at 86.8% of 71.7 terabytes. So that's a huge amount, and that is because I've been saving all of my raw files since 2016, 2015 when we joined Dropbox on their Pro account. So yes, that's a lot of files, and we're putting it all onto Dropbox. So we got my RAWs, and I've got my finished photos all going into Dropbox there. Now, I don't keep any of the in-between kind of stuff because if I've got the raws and I've got the finished, I know how I got from point A to point B. So keeping all of the nonsense working stuff in between, no, that's a little bit too much. But the raws are important because if down the road, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, maybe it's a year, the client looks back and says, ooh, you know what, with this shot here, we really need to Photoshop this out, or you know what, ooh, the colors are wrong here, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And sometimes you can do it with the JPEGs, but most of the time it's easier if you've got the raws. So that's why I do like to keep the raw files as well as the finished files. Now, obviously, I'm just putting these onto Dropbox. And the nice thing about Dropbox is that from there, I can just share out a link to the files to my clients. So it's a great way to deliver files. And I think in this day and age, most people are pretty savvy with using Dropbox. I don't think I've had any problems with any of my clients asking, saying that they can't use Dropbox. Google Drive is a little bit more difficult. We also used to use Hightail. It may still be around. But of all the programs that are out there, Dropbox seems to be the one that pretty much every client is used to and every client is able to use without too much of a headache. Obviously, if I'm putting it all onto Dropbox, well, that's great. But what if one day I am getting tired of paying my pro subscription to them, and it does get expensive? I think we're paying around $860 Canadian per year for the luxury of having an unlimited Dropbox account for the starter real estate photographer, or if you've only got yourself doing this, maybe that's a little bit high and maybe you don't want to spend that much money and maybe you want to have a different solution. And we were like that for a while. And what we used to do was we had a NAS, Network Access Server. Is that what it stands for? But whatever it stands for, the NAS was great because you could put 2, 3, 4, 8 hard drives into it and then just back everything up onto there. But then one thing happened to me a few years ago, which I was not expecting. Like the NAS is interesting because you can have two drives that are mirrored. So if one fails, then well, at least you've got a fully operational drive, right? So there's a redundant drive, which is great, except for the fact that where I put my NAS, it was dusty and dust got into the NAS and overheated, and that overheated NAS actually destroyed both hard drives at the same time. So having that redundancy didn't work. And so obviously if you have a NAS, you got to look after it, and if you have a physical hard drive, you have to make sure that, well, physically it's still operational and clean and free of dust inside. So don't just shove it into the back of your closet and just think, oh well, that's gonna be able to take care of itself, it's not doing really much. No, you do actually have to take care of it. So what did we do after that? Well, we got another NAS, and then we connected that up to a Mac Mini. And the reason that we connected it up to a Mac Mini was because we also wanted to be able to pull things off of Dropbox. So here's what we did. We pulled everything from Dropbox up to the Mac Mini, and then to the NAS, I took the finished files. So only the finished files are being synced now from my Dropbox to the Mac Mini onto my NAS. So my NAS doesn't actually have to be 71 terabytes. It can be a whole lot smaller. So I've got a 4-disc NAS right now, a smaller Mac Mini, and I've got all my stuff going from Dropbox through the Mac Mini onto my NAS, so that I've got copies of all my finished files there. So at any point in time, I say, you know what, let's cut off Dropbox. I can do that, and my NAS will still have everything on it that I need. The second thing that we've done as a redundancy is we've taken Dropbox, and as a company, we're using the entire Google G Suite for our staff. So everyone's got a Google account. That means that we are now eligible for an unlimited amount of Google Drive space. So I'm taking that advantage of that and backing everything up onto Drive as well. Now I've got 2 online redundancies and a physical at-home redundancy. So I've got my finished files on my NAS at home, I've got my RAWs and my finished files on Dropbox and on Google Drive. So this all works out pretty well. To do this, we're using a program called, it's like Cloud something. However, we're not going to be promoting them. We're not going to be pushing them because we're having problems with them. It's not always syncing properly, and not all the files are going on there. So I'm probably going to change that over to something like Zapier or any other service out there that can sync from my Dropbox onto my Google Drive. So whatever you find out there, great, use that. It's nice to have that dual online redundancy. Just like you would with a NAS with 2 drives that are copying the same thing, it's nice to be able to do that online with 2 different things. And now that Amazon has come out with Amazon Photo, well, you never know. I may try that as well. But whatever it is, I've got to make sure that I've got backups of all the things I need to be able to make my business run. So what's most important to me is my finished files. I'm going to keep that on my NAS, Dropbox, and Drive because that is the most important thing. I can probably edit 90% of the photos to the point where I can reuse them, resend them, refix them for my clients. Clients always just want to have the finished files, so maybe that's going to be enough. However, just for my own peace of mind, I am keeping my RAWs on Dropbox and Drive. And so where does that come in handy? Well, for me, it came in really handy when I started making my online real estate course because I could actually pull some of the RAW files that I had from, say, 2019, 2016, and show you how I process them before giving them out to the client. So it did come in very handy that way. And as well, if you start doing this with footage, because let's face it, everyone's going to video now. Well, footage is going to be a lot more important because yes, you can license out footage a lot easier than you can photos. And so if you have amazing footage, well, keep that into your Dropbox, your Drive, and your NAS. And maybe you want to get a much bigger NAS that can handle a whole lot more, because that video content is so valuable these days. All right, so in terms of the types of NASs that I would recommend, well, personally, I like this one here. It is the SanDisk Professional G-Raid 24 terabyte shuttle. The G-Raid stuff is great in that it is, well, it's SanDisk. It's the professional line of SanDisk, okay? I'm not going to go up to here to get 144 terabytes for $17,000. No, nor am I going to go for 96 terabytes for $8,000, because quite frankly, with just photos, all I need is 24. 24 is more than enough for all my finished files, even with all of my staff and all the clients that we've got and 10 years of doing work, saving it all as JPEGs. You know what? 24 terabytes is more than enough for now. And hey, if you get to the point where you are making enough finished product that you can fill up 96 terabytes of stuff, well, then this $8,000 price tag is probably not going to be that big of a deal for you, right? So, well, starting out, yes, $3,000 does sound like it's a lot of money. So does $800 for Dropbox. So does the Google G Suite costs. But trust me, once you start creating content, it is important to protect and maintain and hold on to and archive and ensure that you've kept all that content. So keep it. Spend the money, get the Dropbox, get Drive, get the NASs, and try and ensure that your finished product is stored for as long as you can, because you never know when you're going to need something from 5 years ago and when that's going to become very, very important. And another thing that you might want to do is check out a podcast that we had done with David Deal. I'm going to put that podcast link into the show notes here, but he's also talking about not only keep all the files on backed up like this, but also register everything with the Library of Congress, so that if there's ever a point where your photos are being taken advantage of and being used without your permission or a license, you have a great way to go after whoever's doing that. All right, so that's about it. I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, put them below, and be sure to click on like, subscribe, and click on that little bell to be notified every time we put up new content. And I am happy to announce that our online real estate photography course is now done, and it is ready for you. Just go to www.robmaroto.com and use a coupon code that is in the show notes here to get yourself a nice little discount. All right, see you later.